The Springboks may have suffered a painful 33-16 defeat to the All Blacks at Ellis Park, but legendary South African lock Victor Matfield believes there is absolutely no reason for panic, insisting that the world champions actually dominated large parts of the contest and simply failed to convert their opportunities into points. The result gave Rennie's All Blacks a 1-0 lead in the four-test rugby's greatest rivalry series, ended the Springboks' remarkable 12-match winning run, and returned New Zealand to the top of the world rugby rankings. But according to Victor Matfield, the scoreboard does not tell the full story of what happened in Johannesburg. The former Springboks captain has urged supporters not to overreact, arguing that international rugby has become so competitive that no country is likely to dominate the sport for several consecutive years in the same way New Zealand did during their golden period in the 2010s. For Matfield, Saturday's defeat was not evidence that the Springboks have suddenly lost their status as the world's leading rugby force. Instead, it was an example of how quickly a test match can turn when one team takes its opportunities and the other does not. South Africa created several chances during the opening half, but mistakes and poor execution repeatedly prevented them from turning pressure into tries. Meanwhile, New Zealand showed exactly why they remain one of the most dangerous teams in world rugby, ruthlessly converting their opportunities when they reached the attacking zone. Jordan scored twice for the All Blacks, while Josh Morby, Fabian Holland and Luke Jacobson also crossed the line, with Andre Esterhuizen scoring the Springboks' only try. The contrast was obvious. South Africa spent long periods controlling territory and winning important physical battles, but New Zealand were significantly more efficient when the opportunities arrived. That efficiency ultimately decided the match. Victor Matfield, however, believes there were plenty of reasons for Rassie Erasmus and his coaching staff to remain confident. Looking specifically at the forward battle, Matfield pointed to the Springboks' dominance at scrum time as one of the clearest positives from the defeat. Nche, Malcolm Marx and Wilco Louw caused enormous problems for the All Blacks front row, while Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax struggled to establish consistent scrum parity. The dominance gave South Africa valuable field position and created opportunities to apply pressure. Yet the hosts were unable to turn that advantage into enough points. For a former world-class lock such as Matfield, that is an important distinction because a team that can dominate the set piece against the All Blacks has a foundation from which it can build. The lineout also became increasingly positive for the Springboks as the match developed, particularly during the second half, while their attack between the 22-meter lines showed signs that they could create opportunities against the New Zealand defense. Matfield also highlighted the defensive performance, suggesting that the All Blacks did not consistently threaten the wider channels from set-piece situations. Instead, New Zealand relied heavily on individual brilliance, quick transitions and clinical execution once they reached the danger zone. That is where players such as Cam Roigard, Jordan and Jordie Barrett made the crucial difference. Cam Roigard was particularly influential, bringing speed and energy to the All Blacks attack and helping them turn relatively limited opportunities into points. Matfield described the All Blacks scrum half as an exceptional player capable of producing decisive moments when his team needs them most. That individual quality is something the Springboks will have to account for in the remaining tests, because controlling the overall match is not enough when New Zealand possess players capable of changing the contest in a matter of seconds. The most important lesson from Ellis Park, therefore, may be the importance of finishing opportunities. South Africa entered the All Blacks 22 several times during the first half but came away with remarkably little reward. The pressure was there, the physicality was there, and the territorial advantage was there, but the scoreboard remained close. According to Matfield, that created a dangerous psychological situation. At halftime, he began to worry because he knew that failing to score after dominating territory and possession can eventually come back to punish a team. His concern proved justified. South Africa continued to apply pressure after the interval, but again failed to produce the breakthrough they needed. Then came the critical moment when New Zealand won a scrum penalty inside their own 22. Instead of allowing the Springboks to continue building pressure, the All Blacks escaped, shifted momentum, and soon produced another attacking opportunity. Fabian Holland then charged down Grant Williams and scored a crucial try, completely changing the emotional balance of the match. Suddenly, the pressure moved from New Zealand onto South Africa, and the hosts began making mistakes that had not appeared with the same frequency earlier in the contest. For Matfield, this was the moment the match changed. Rugby can be a psychological game, and once one side begins to feel that its opportunities are disappearing while the opposition keeps scoring, decision-making becomes more difficult. Rassie Erasmus will know that better than most coaches, and the Springboks will now have to find a way to turn pressure into points in the second test. The defeat was particularly frustrating because South Africa had entered the series with tremendous momentum. Rassie Erasmus' team had won 12 tests in succession and had built a reputation for finding ways to win even when matches became chaotic or uncomfortable. Their victories over England, Scotland, Wales and Argentina had demonstrated the depth and physicality within the squad, while the Springboks had continued to develop new combinations ahead of the Rugby World Cup cycle. The loss to New Zealand therefore came as a major surprise, but Matfield believes it should be viewed as a setback rather than a crisis. The former Springboks captain also pointed out that New Zealand deserve enormous credit. Rennie made several important selection decisions before the match, including backing Fabian Holland in the second row and choosing Jordie Barrett among his replacements. Both decisions proved valuable. Holland was outstanding around the field and scored the crucial try, while Barrett handled the scrum better than many expected after replacing an injured Ethan de Groot. Rennie therefore deserves credit for making decisions that worked when the pressure was at its highest. The All Blacks also received outstanding performances from Wilco and Jordie Barrett, with Jordan showing why he is regarded as one of the world's most dangerous attacking players and Barrett producing another exceptional performance in both attack and defense. Jordie Barrett made crucial defensive interventions and was involved in several turnover moments, demonstrating that his influence extends far beyond simply carrying the ball. Yet despite those positives for New Zealand, Matfield does not believe they have suddenly become unbeatable. He specifically rejected the idea that one victory means the All Blacks have established dominance over the Springboks. In his view, modern international rugby is too competitive for that. The gap between the major nations is extremely small, and individual moments can determine the outcome of an entire test. That is why Matfield remains confident that the Springboks can respond. The second test will provide the perfect opportunity because Rassie Erasmus and his players now know exactly what went wrong. They know they cannot waste repeated entries into the All Blacks 22. They know they must improve their discipline, sharpen their execution and make better decisions when opportunities appear. They also know that New Zealand will arrive in Cape Town with increased confidence after ending the Springboks' winning streak and taking control of the series. But confidence can work both ways. South Africa will have the motivation of playing in front of their home supporters and the determination to prove that the Ellis Park result was an anomaly rather than the beginning of a decline. The battle at scrum time could once again be critical, with Nche, Marx and Wilco Louw likely to target the All Black set piece. Meanwhile, Rassie Erasmus will be looking for greater attacking accuracy from his backs and more composure when the pressure increases. Players such as Damian Willems, Jesse Kriel, Damien de Allende and Kurt Lee Arends will need to make their opportunities count, while the halfback combination must provide faster and more accurate service. The Springboks cannot afford another match where they dominate certain statistical areas but repeatedly leave points on the field. At the same time, Rennie will be demanding another ruthless performance from his All Blacks. Cam Roigard will remain a major threat around the breakdown. Ardie Savea will continue leading from the back row, and Jordan will be looking for more opportunities to punish defensive mistakes. The second test could therefore become a fascinating battle between South Africa's physical dominance and New Zealand's attacking efficiency. For Victor Matfield, the message is simple. Do not panic. The Springboks lost the opening test, but they were not comprehensively outplayed in every area. They created opportunities, dominated important aspects of the forward battle, and showed enough attacking promise to suggest that a turnaround is possible. The biggest difference was that New Zealand took their chances while South Africa did not. In a 4-test series, one defeat does not decide the entire story. The All Blacks have earned the advantage and deserve enormous credit for a clinical performance, but Rassie Erasmus now has the opportunity to make adjustments. The Springboks must learn from their mistakes, improve their execution and ensure that the next time they reach the All Blacks 22, they come away with points. If they can do that while maintaining the scrum dominance and defensive pressure highlighted by Matfield, the second test could look very different. The rugby's greatest rivalry has only just begun, and if Victor Matfield is correct, there is certainly no reason for the Springboks to fear what comes next. New Zealand may have won the opening battle, reclaimed the #1 ranking and snapped South Africa's 12-match winning streak. But the Springboks remain one of the most dangerous teams in world rugby, and the next chapter in this historic rivalry promises to be even more intense.